Ready? Good evening. Welcome to the March regular meeting of the Kenton City Schools Board of Education. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blue?
Here.
Mr. Grimm?
Here.
Mr. Householder?
Here.
Mr. McCullough?
Here.
Mr. Watkins?
Absent. Okay, let's all rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just clicking right through.
Item 4, motion to accept and approval and the correction of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 16th and special meeting of February 19th, 2015. Motion, please.
Grimm. Householder.
Any discussion? Corrections? Vote, please.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes. Passes 4-0. Item 5, principal, supervisor, and faculty reports. We have on the agenda Mike Letty, the athletic director. So the stage is yours.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me here this evening. Kind of the first report of the school year from myself anyway. So before I begin, just want to start by thanking the board, thanking Mrs. Penzarski. I've been offered a lot of support from you guys, as well as the principals at the high school, Mr. Thrush and Mr. Abbott. That support system has been great. I don't know that I could have had a better situation to come in and better folks to work with. Also, Adrian Smythe and Kirk Cameron at the middle school have been supportive at the middle school level as well. Right now, our athletics program, there's a lot of good stuff going on. Kind of went back into the count of athletes we have in the program right now, and we're looking at the high school level at about 233 student athletes, which is tremendous for a school the size of Kenton. About 123 at the middle school. 55 of those 233 are multi-sport athletes, as we call them, student athletes who participate in more than just one sport. So it's exciting to see so many kids out or extracurricular activities and not just one. And that doesn't count the band or music programs, which many of our athletes take part in that as well. With our sports programs, we've been able to add sports. We've been able to add a 9th grade baseball team with a coaching position. We've also added a cross-country coach to help with the high school and middle school level, just with the increase in numbers. So those are exciting things going on in our program whenever we can add coaches, whenever we can add student athletes and get more kids involved in what we're doing. We're hoping to add, whether it be JV girls soccer or even middle school soccer as well, to kind of just keep more interest, to keep more kids, keep more students involved throughout the school year. Outside of our sports, just want to highlight a few areas as far as academically. Want to recognize our girls tennis program for right now after the fall and winter seasons. Team grade point average of 3.73, which is outstanding. With the girls tennis team, we have 6 teams in total with above a 3.0. So taking a look at our academics is very important to us, and we have a lot of student athletes getting it done in the classroom because it's important to them and it's important to their coaches. So we have a lot of great people involved. Currently, after the 2 seasons, we sit in 8th place in the WBL All Sports standings. Going back in history, that we haven't fared as well as many of us would have liked. I think it was 2007, 2008, the last time that Kenton finished 9th place. Since then, we've been in 10 out of 10. And before that, I think it was another 5 or 6 years before we were 9th place or better. Going into spring, we're very optimistic about our performance level and our ability to finish in at least the top 8, which would be the first in a very long time. So we'd like to get the ball rolling, and it starts with academics, which we're doing, and then athletic performance, which we're very proud of our student athletes as well. Want to highlight a few just sports and recognition, just starting with winter because it's fresh in my mind. Our wrestling team finished with the best dual record they've had in a very long time. Coach Mans and I were going back to try to put a number on it, and we believe it's well over 15, 20 years as far as our dual record goes in the league. Our girls swim team came in with a 4th place WBL record, broke every single girls record except for the 50 and the 100-meter freestyle, which is incredible. Both those records are held by current junior Mo Gray, but every other record was broken this year by the girls team. And then obviously Mo was a state qualifier. Our golf team with the 1st place at the WBL tournament, finished 6th at district. Our girls tennis team was 4th in the WBL. State qualifier and Claire Oates, best record of 6-3 since 1992. And then football was a 2nd place WBL with the regional championship. So just wanted to acknowledge a few of our top performing sports and athletes. Off-season training right now, we have more teams in our gyms, more teams in our weight rooms than we've had ever in the past. A lot of support from our coaches who are very excited about some just changes in the way that what we're asking them to do. They already put in a lot of time, and we've asked them to challenge our kids a little bit more, and they've taken that and they've accepted it, and they've surpassed any expectation that I had of them. Gym time's at a premium, weight room time's at a premium, because the kids and the coaches are finding the value in hard work, and they see the success of some of our teams and their accomplishments and some of our accolades in the classroom as well. We're starting to put a lot of things together. Touch briefly on just some fiscal data real quick. Taking a look back at ticket gates and sponsorship, we're almost equal to where we were last year as far as gate revenue, sponsorship. And we're actually, as far as spending goes, quite a bit less than we were at this point last year. But, don't want to get ahead of ourselves with a few more months to go. But it's exciting to know that we're seem to be on pace or on schedule, finishing up the school year. And it's nice that so many of our fans and the community members have come out to support our programs the way they always have. It speaks a lot for our community and the people that we have around us. Touching briefly on the fiscal data, we are looking to make some changes in our sponsorship program. Some of you may be a part of it already. Some of you may not. But currently the way we operate is we ask for sponsorship for different venues for different years. And we're looking to kind of streamline that process and make it all of our sponsorship on the same page, so that we're not hitting up the same businesses or same people every single year. So we're looking to kind of just build unity between our sports programs, our community, and make sure we're all on the same page. So you may see some more information coming out on that before too long. And last but not least, I didn't thank this group in the beginning, but I did want to thank the athletic boosters. Our athletic boosters have been a tremendous support to our entire program, a group that truly puts student athletes first in everything that they do and all the decisions that they make. Right now, I can tell you off the top of my head, this school year alone, which they've done a lot up till this school year, but some of our off-season trainings, I know they've helped with the soccer program, they've helped with the tennis program, helping to facilitate the ability to travel to and from different cities for indoor trainings. They've helped coaches attend clinics and other professional development opportunities that otherwise might be coming out of their own pocket. So it's good to help keep our coaches happy. It help take care of those who take care of our kids. And last but not least, at the last board meeting, they voted and approved 3 new scoreboards for baseball, softball, and soccer. 3 boards that previously were incandescent bulbs, screw-in light bulbs that didn't work. We'll be upgrading those to LED, hopefully sooner than later, but those details we'll have to wait for now. So with that, the Athletic Boosters is hosting their annual reverse raffle this Saturday. I think tickets are at a premium. They're probably gone about 5 years ago, but that event takes place this Saturday here at the fairgrounds, and that's all for a great cause to help our student athletes. No, it went kind of quick. I didn't know if there was any questions or anything you guys had for me.
I have one, Mike.
Oh, go ahead.
And I'm not mad or anything, but I know at the state swim meet, we didn't have anybody repping.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to make sure we always have somebody there repping the school? And I know you were getting ready for sections. That's a lot up here too.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure, she puts a lot of time. Everybody works hard. I know she works hard at it. I felt kind of bad we didn't have anybody there to watch her from the school. Repping.
Yeah, we'd always like to get as many people as we can to every event, especially an event like a state championship or a state competition. So, but yeah, we always try to make sure we have someone there, and we try to communicate. In that particular situation, there was a personal issue that came up last minute that needed to be dealt with, and I think we'd all agree that those personal issues outweigh athletic events. So in that situation, priorities took place, but we always try to make sure we support our kids.
Absolutely. Oh, I have one other. I was asked the other day about middle school soccer, and it's been brought up last couple of years. They'd really like to get it going.
Absolutely.
How's that coming? I mean, how are we doing with that?
There's a lot of WBL schools that are coming on board with it. I know us, along with St. Mary's, have been in talks about a club team, perhaps. We've had meetings with other athletic directors that a lot of the schools would like to. It's just trying to figure out a way if there's a means to really make it happen, and whether we can make it a league.
But I think
sanctioned
we're about the
event.
only school that doesn't have one in the league, aren't we?
What's that?
Are we about the only school in the league that doesn't have a middle school?
There's a couple of schools, that don't have league sanctioned teams. It could be a group of kids that play in a league and call themselves a middle school club team. It just a matter of the school. It changes by school. But it is something that we'd like to do. It's something that we're seriously taking a look at to make sure we provide an opportunity for those interested in soccer to be able to play in that middle school grade level.
Because I know that's kind of where we need to support. I mean, all other sports sort of have that middle school support in them. And what's the next step we need to do? I mean, what needs to happen? I mean,
well, we need to take a look at multiple factors, whether it's financial, whether it's coaching, whether it's league schedules, that transportation. There's a lot of factors that go into whether or not we can support a team, and all those need to be taken into consideration with the people who make those decisions.
okay. Good. I'm done.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you. I know it was tough walking in, and we had changed all those facility forms on you and the way that we scheduled gyms and all those kinds of things. And you took the bull by the horns and got all those gyms scheduled. And I know right now it's been crazy to get all the groups into all the new facilities that we have. But I truly appreciate it that you've helped us so much and that you've gone above and beyond to get kids in our gym and to give kids the opportunity to practice. And I know how much our coaches appreciate that. And I just wanted to say personally, thank you for that, because I know that our coaches appreciate that.
Oh, well, they're the ones doing all the work, but I appreciate it.
I would echo that sentiment. The people I have talked with support you fully, and they're really appreciative of the job you're doing. And most of the things I hear are positive, so keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you. Well, a lot of great people. You guys make it easy.
It's not hard being a Wildcat, is it? All right. Anybody else under this section?
I don't think so tonight.
All right, we'll move on to item 6. The public participation section of the Board of Education agenda is specifically designated for the public to address the board with their compliments, concerns, and/or questions. The board welcomes your comments. If you wish to address the board regarding a problem, the board would remind you of 2 things. First, your comments should be factual and respectful of the rights of others. And second, before coming to the board with a specific problem, you should have first addressed the problem with the appropriate teacher, staff member, or administrator. On item A, we have our public hearing to discuss the 2015-2016 school calendar information. And I'll turn it over to Mrs. Penzarski.
Thanks. Well, as part of the new law, you know that we have to review our school calendar. We've discussed this at the last meeting in February. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to run through some things with you. But the first thing that I want to explain is, remember, we're still on days. So as we go and we talk all of these hours, they're really not going to matter this year, because hours won't affect us until we negotiate our contract next year. So we are still under the day law, but the law says we have to talk about hours. So I'm going to read through what's under Section A, and then hopefully you picked up the white piece of paper that has some more detail. So everything on your blue piece of paper, how we got those hours and how they were calculated, is on the back, Appendix A. So you can see how those hours were calculated. But again, I'm going to ask you to stick with me on that Kenton City Schools will be on days next year. But we're going to talk it in hours tonight, just so that we follow the rules and we do everything correct. So under letter A, the total number of hours for each building is, and I'm reading off the blue agenda sheet. Okay. For KES kindergarten will be 1,142 hours. For Kenton Elementary School, grades 1 through 6 will be 1,168 hours. Kenton Middle School, 7th and 8th grade will be 1,168 hours. And for Kenton High School, grades 9 through 12 will be 1,168 hours. The length of the school day is 6.5 hours per building. The beginning and end dates of instruction will be, now, the reason we have two different end dates and beginning dates of school would be because Kenton votes on a calendar. So I have to go over both start dates and end dates with you. So if you look at the back side of your appendix, you'll see both calendars, calendar A and calendar B. Okay? So calendar A begins on August 17th and ends on May 25th. And calendar B starts on August 24th and ends on May 24th. Kenton City School intends to continue blizzard bags and plans to apply for 2 waiver days. Now, the reason that statement is worded this way is because according to the law, you're not allowed to have blizzard bag days or waiver days anymore. But since Kenton City Schools would be a grandfathered school district, we're allowed. Okay, so that's why it's worded that way. So we will have blizzard bag days and we will have waiver days that we can apply for this summer, just like we do every year. The Kenton City Schools will be scheduled for instruction for the same number of hours for the 2015-16 school year. So what that means is we are not going to reduce our school year. It won't be basically any different than it is this year. So if we were going to change the amount of hours that we're in school, we would have to make that public. We would have to tell you that tonight, and we are not going to do that. Our school days that we're in session are going to be the same. So the Kenton City School Board of Education will take action on the 2015-2016 school calendar at the April 20th, 2015 board meeting. So the board will actually pick the calendar and vote on it in at least 30 days, which will be our next scheduled board meeting. Now, that's officially what we have to go through and talk. But Kenton City Schools always has a little different thing that we need to talk about, which is how our calendar is built and how it works. Because we always, as a staff, vote on which calendar we would like to have for the 2015 school year. So I'm going to go back to the colored picture, which would be this side, and just talk you through a little bit how this works and what it looks like. So on the right-hand side of your page, you have kind of the map on how all the colors work. And so just the basics of it would be all the green on your page would be school days. So these would be days that the kids go to school. All the red would be no school. So in simplest terms, calendar A is fair week off. Calendar B, you go to school fair week, other than the typical Monday, Tuesday off. Does that make sense pretty much? Now you have some kind of, I think they're kind of light pink or gray days. Like if you look at the 25th and the 24th of May, and there's probably some around Christmas, the 18th and the 22nd. Those would be school days, but those are our early release days. You have those days that you get out an hour early. Those are why those are colored a little different. And then your end of quarter days are colored a little different. Those are yellow. Those are still school days that we go to school. They're just colored to notify that this is an end of a quarter. And then the 2-hour delays that we use for staff professional development, those would be colored in orange. So those are still school days that we go to school. So you can kind of glance down and look through and see how all that works. The blue that happens in August, those are mostly, just to simplify it, staff days, if you will. Those are days that the staff come in and they do PD prior to school starting. The purple days are just teacher work days. They're contracted days. Around January, you have that records day at the end of the semester that teachers work. That's why there's a purple day in January. And then around March, you see some pink days. Those are the days that they do kindergarten screening. Kids are still in school, but the kindergarten has off to do that screening. That's why you see pink there. So this was put out to our staff, and they voted to say which calendar they prefer. And the results that we had were that around 67% of the staff that voted, remember, not all staff participates, but around 67% preferred calendar A. So their recommendation to our board would be they would prefer calendar A, and about 33% would prefer calendar B. Now, I did go back and talk to some people to find out the reasons, because I do feel that I owe that to the board, why calendar A. One reason was for the fair. Obviously, they preferred calendar A because they were able to spend the week doing the fair activities through 4-H. The other reason was because calendar A, if you look at it, has 2 full weeks at Christmas, where calendar B does not. Now, 2 other pieces of information that I would like to provide to the board prior to opening it up, and then anyone is allowed to talk or ask questions, and the board is more than welcome to discuss anything that you'd like to discuss. 2 pieces of information that I would also like to share would be that Mrs. Buckenroth provided a letter. She could not be here this evening, but wanted to express how she felt about the calendar and how important it was to have the fair week off and the benefits of that week for our kids and for 4-H. And I've provided that letter to all of you.
We appreciate that.
And the other thing that was asked of me by some of the members of the staff was that if the board did decide to go against the staff and pick calendar B, if the board would consider changing calendar B slightly and give staff 2 weeks at Christmas, which would mean that you would have to add 2 days to May, which would make the student's last day May 26th and the teacher work day, I think, May 27th. So that was just asked to consider if you were considering that calendar. And I said that I would mention that.
Why would it be 2 days and not 1?
Because we would go to school in December the 21st and 22nd. So if you give them 2 days off,
Oh, I see.
you would
Okay,
have
yes,
to add 2 days, which would be the 25th and 26th.
Sure.
So the 26th would be the early release,
Mhm.
and the 27th would be teacher work day.
Okay.
So I did say that I would mention that. And that's all that I have to share. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
All right, I appreciate that. As it is a public hearing, would anybody like to address the board or ask questions to the superintendent?
You can see this from our chair.
Prefer you do it at the microphone for John's benefit.
You can tell I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
My name is Rick Collins, and I'm here, to just give you another perspective. 3 years ago, my wife took on the task of calling gate workers for the band and choir boosters. To work the whole day, and choir and band boosters for each day that they had volunteers work, it was $750 per day for those organizations. And then after 2 years ago, when we were going those 3 extra days of the fair week, it was very difficult to find volunteers to fill. And last year, we dropped a day. We decided it was just too difficult. But with school starting later, we were able to pick up Friday. So another group couldn't find enough volunteers, so we filled the Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Sunday's not a work day, but it's still a day that we got to earn money for those organizations, the band and choir boosters. So when you're looking at people talk about the fair, yeah, I have youth involved in the fair, and but the other aspect is, myself as a teacher and many other coworkers, they're able to volunteer their time for various organizations that week. So just something to consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Janet Philipstein, and I'm a school employee in the cafeteria, and I support having the fair off to support the children and the staff, kind of echo him, the staff that are involved in the fair. And I had children in the fair, now I have grandchildren, and I just like to support having the week of the fair off. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, well, we have a month before we make our decision, and we will take care of all this information and all the information we have in front of us. We will definitely give it its due diligence. And you have between, anybody that's listening out there, you have between now and the next meeting to contact the board member or superintendent and voice your thoughts or views. And with that, we will move on to our next item on the agenda. Thank you for being here.
You do not have to stay. We appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We're getting down to the skeleton crew again. All right. Item 7, reports to the treasurer. Approve the following February 28, 2015 reports. Cash position, check register, receipt ledger, investment report, budget versus actual. Motion to accept.
McCullough.
Householder.
Any discussion? You have nothing you want to share? Yeah.
Things are moving right on schedule.
Yeah.
I tell you, yeah, that looks good. And of course, like we talked earlier about the additional funds coming in, and so I think that's great. That's great news for us. So keep up the good
Yes,
work.
it is. Okay,
No, you don't, but keep up the good work. Keep bringing in the money.
yes. Vote, please.
Mr. Householder,
Yes.
Mr. McCullough,
Yes.
Mr. Blue,
Yes,
Mr. Brin.
Yes.
passes 4-0. Item 8, superintendent's report.
I honestly think I can cover everything in committee, if that's okay.
That would
My
be,
biggest part of it was
that would be awesome. So we'll move on to item 9, board committee reports. Finance committee.
Well, we met the other day, and there were several items that we covered, but since you have copies of all of them, I won't go over all of them. But I will highlight some of them that I think are important that we get out in public. First one is fingerprinting. We were given a cost factor to put our own equipment in. There'll still be additional costs, but we're looking positively to do that. Summertime, or was it fall when we were going to?
Summer.
So, because there's more and more requirements for everybody to be fingerprinted, and if we can help with the cost by having equipment here.
What does it cost for us do we use the sheriff now or the
We
city
used the
police?
sheriff and the EST.
Here, I have
Okay.
a breakdown of that.
Uh-huh.
Brought it. I can find it.
It's really not important, but that's where those monies go. And then by doing this, would we have a charge for our employees
Yes.
to do it still? And then that would basically
Because
cover the
there's a
ink and the
fee
filing,
to submit,
yeah.
and The real convenience is that in the county, it can only be done at the sheriff's office on Tuesday and Thursday, and at the ESC on Tuesday. So we're also having the ability to offer it 5 days a week would be incredible. I mean, just for the convenience, for our employees, for our subs, for our volunteers. If we could do it more days than
This
just
would be
the
us.
2 would be great.
And that would be us. So we would be at like 51 versus 62. That's be a big benefit for our
crew, that would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, the cost factor was not too bad, was it $6,000 basically?
No, right, yeah, the equipment, which I can't imagine there's a ton of wear and tear on the equipment. It should last
Yeah.
several
We usually
years.
find a location to set it up, and then it has its own computer attached, and it's all done in one spot. So whether we use one of our back rooms or something to have it set up, and train Linda to do it.
Okay.
The next item was a ProTech survey that we did on our wireless connections and in our buildings. And they're suggesting a $13,000 survey in all of our buildings to check our Wi-Fi at mostly at the high school and middle school. And that, my opinion, and I think the opinion of the Finance Committee, was that we go forward with that because it's frustrating when students are getting kicked off their computers, and we need to make them as smooth as possible.
Well, those are our hard buildings because they weren't built for computers.
Right.
So certainly makes
So
sense.
if we can get them all up and working better, I'm sure that that's going to take a lot of the stress off students using computers.
And this would just be the access point survey to tell us what needs to happen, and then from there, we would then have to purchase the access points, but they would be the same as our elementary. So now we would be on one system, all with the same, that would be talking together and working together. And Ryan, if I'm not talking the correct lingo or language, please jump in.
You're correct so far.
Okay, so far, so it's basically a 2-step process, but this would be the second step, or the first part of a 2-step process.
Next item we talked about was staffing, and Jennifer upgraded us on some cost adjustments and stuff. You all have copies of that, so I won't go into that unless she wants to touch on anything.
We're still working.
Yeah. Pupil activity permits was basically a licensing agreement or a permit that they needed for coaches.
Yeah, we're just still working through the process of who pays for those, and because they are, there's a cost to it and how we go about that and what fund that comes out of, and if it's a personal cost or a district cost.
Talking about WOCO again, they've sent us a 3-year agreement. We're researching that and looking at it and talking about it, but no recommendation there.
How is that looking with the other guys, Tracy?
Well, with us not going to Munis,
Then it's
kind of,
A
that
grab
was,
bag.
that was gonna be my main concern, but we've gotten a lot of feedback from the rest of the staff, and they really like the service level we get with WOCO.
okay. That's the important thing there. Yeah, and of course Munis is shut down. That's so, don't know what they'll do now.
They will still be looking at something. They don't know at this point what, but.
That will take another 10 years for them to
Well, I
put
hope-
together that
I
then they
hope
don't
not.
roll out.
I
Yeah.
think not, no. If you don't understand, some of the technology that we use in the finance department is still using 1980 technology, mostly for payroll. It's very
Archaic, yeah.
antiquated.
That's because we're on the state's
We're still
system.
on- yeah, we're on
Well,
the
this,
system.
yeah, we can't do anything about
Yeah.
it. We are stuck with what they give us, that's right.
We're working on their program, which is,
And Munis was supposed to
Antiquated.
solve that, but apparently there was issues in what they were rolling out and people didn't like how it was put together.
Munis had never dealt with the concept of ITCs and
Okay.
having all these computer centers and having them do the installations down the road. You know, they would help with the first 2 rounds, and they then the ITCs would be doing the installations, and they just weren't used to that. Plus, there goes their revenue, and they just couldn't come up with an agreement.
Okay.
Next thing we had was investments, and we were just looking at some other opportunities because, as we all know, money in the bank is not paid well lately. The other thing I brought up in committee and with, I think, with each of you before, was possibly a plan to set money aside in a capital improvement fund at the end of every year to take and look at, a base level carryover of $3 million, which covers our operating expenses plus an extra $1 million, and look at the difference between that and our ending balance and put a portion of that aside every year. When we were looking at that, it would have been the 0.5% income tax. And whether when we were making a decision about leaving that or keeping that or how to do something with that, we decided to walk away with that and walk away from that. So we didn't, but during that process, we contacted the bond people about paying our buildings off early. And they can only be paid early in the 11th year. We can call the bonds in the 11th year, if I recall that's how that worked.
That's right.
And so if we set money aside, right now, if we were trying to build a second building for high school, middle school, or any large option, we'd have to wait 26 years basically before our other one is paid off because it was a 28-year loan. We're probably 2 years in.
Right.
So we thought we could hedge against that or possibly use that money to pay off that other one early in the 11th year if we could set enough money aside. And it just made sense just to get it. Made sense to me, and I don't know if it makes sense to everybody, but I thought I'd throw it out there tonight just to see what everybody else in the world thought about that. I've talked to each of you, and you've been positive, but we wouldn't do it until the end of every year when we knew exactly our carryover balance. And we'd look at a percentage of the unused balance that wasn't critical and see about setting that aside. Because I think this is going to be still a positive year. I think our cash balance is going to continue to grow.
I think the indicators are positive that
Yeah.
way. I agree.
So, and it makes more sense to try to look at long-term capital investments and things that we might need to do down the road rather than just let that money set aside. See if we couldn't do some planning with it. That's about all we had in finance, so.
Okay, any questions? Move on to Facilities Committee.
I guess that's me again, isn't it? We did meet with Mosier one day about a new bus garage, and we got a nice little pamphlet from him. That was about it. Asked a lot of questions about what we wanted and what size it was and everything else. And I showed you that before. I don't know if Dave and those guys saw it, but basically they were just looking for information. They were going to get back to us with what kind of cost factors. So not much came out of that meeting. And with Northwood and everything in the works, we just kind of slowed down on that for now. Trying to push Northwood forward because we have to have that in place by fall. This other one doesn't have to happen on that schedule.
Right. Well, we're fully on the hook for the removal of the old bus garage anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And they're making good progress on demolition of those two elementary buildings.
Yeah, I was glad that SB didn't still continue to hang up there with one wall.
The old stage kind of just hanging there.
Yeah.
We did a walkthrough of Northwood today, and I feel really good about what we'll do with that building. And we've got some estimates about the security system, the air conditioning, and some of the different things. So I feel like we're finally making movement on getting that building ready for High Point. And the other good news is that we have been contacted by Honda, and they would like us to go down and meet with them to discuss possibilities of the partnership, and that's thanks to Mike Baird. So we're very thankful for him.
Appreciate
And
that.
so
Still
we
working
really
for us.
appreciated it. And so Deb Wortman and myself and probably the teacher and Mr. Thresh will go down and meet with them and talk the curriculum and how that partnership would look. So
Great.
we're very excited about that opportunity.
That's good.
Board members are always looking out for us. Huh?
That's right. He's still board member.
Well, that's great. it takes more than, more the merrier.
So we're still in that $200,000 to $250,000 cost analysis for that.
We are, and we did apply for the Community Connector Grant with the Chamber. I think the announcement for that grant is about the end of April. And should we receive that grant, the district would be responsible for putting out $54,000 for renovations, and then we would receive $150,000 in renovation money. So I really have my fingers crossed that we will get that grant, because that would be a nice way to pay for the renovations. But we still have some other grants that we're writing to help us with renovation of that building.
Well, we appreciate all your work on seeking these grants and moving things forward. Anything else, Tom?
No, that's pretty much the things we picked up on Northwood. That was this afternoon. That was only a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to remember that one.
All right, move on to extracurricular.
Very good.
I think we heard about that.
Yeah, I think Mr. Young.
Yeah, I think we did.
Covered all that.
All right.
Although,
Good job, Mark.
thank you very much. Although one thing, Quiz Bowl's been doing very well this year. Maybe they don't get quite the coverage they should, but I see they won their county invitational. They had, and I think they have, correct, Jason? It's the WBL. They have a WBL. When is that? Do you remember?
I don't recall when it is, but I know they've done well this year.
Very well.
More they participate.
So I'm pretty proud of them. They're doing real well. So, but things are looking good, I think.
I believe we can do this in extracurricular. We had a young lady in our school had a very high award this weekend at Walpock, I believe. You know anything about that, Mr. Elson?
Yes, I do know
Would you like
about
to
that.
share that with us?
Go ahead.
I believe she placed first in what division?
But she was, my daughter, Alex Haushalter, was the top performer for Kenton Top 20 at the Walpock. I don't know what that's called, but the show choir,
Show choir event, yes.
event that Walpock put on. And so, yes, it was exciting, obviously, for our family. So
That's
appreciate that.
quite an honor.
Appreciate that.
So congratulations to Alex.
Thank you. I would say we did the Lion Show this weekend, and the JROTC kids that came out and presented the colors at the end of that show, which they do. They come and support us each time. This has I've been doing the show about 22 years, and this group has to be the most organized group I have ever witnessed in doing that. They came early, they practiced, they were ready, they were very sharp, very snappy, and I want to thank them for everything that they did, because I have to say that they did an exemplary job.
They did, and they were at the end of the program, and I noticed they were there before the show started, and were there the whole time. So
They were.
I mean, they put a lot of time into that. So.
We've never had that before out of a JROTC group, so we were very surprised and pleasantly surprised and very happy that they showed the responsibility that they showed. It was great.
All right, thanks. Item D, Career Center. But we've discussed a lot about what's going on with the satellite programming and everything. The yearly schedule is on course and everything's working well. We did have a special meeting last Wednesday evening and hired a new superintendent who will replace Dr. Jeff Price at the end of July or June. We hired Dr. Rick Smith. He's currently at North Union, and he will be moving he'll be moving ahead of the August starting date to, get caught up and have Dr. Price ease him into the process. So other than that, everything's running well. And finally, Policy Committee.
I'm meeting with Neola tomorrow or Wednesday, so I can promise a meeting will be coming your way.
Oh, boy.
Good.
We need more meetings.
It's exciting. Exciting.
April meeting, we'll have some policies, I'm sure.
All right. Item 10, old business. We have any old business to discuss? I think we pretty well
Yeah,
covered all
election
that.
coming
Yeah,
up this year.
exactly. All right, item 11, new business. 11A, approve the following substitutes contingent upon proper certification, training, BCI, FBI check, et cetera, for the 2014-15 school year. Kenneth Riggs, substitute bus driver. Motion.
Householder. McCollum.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item B, approve the written retirement resignation of Brenda Lutz, Kenton Middle School Educational Assistant, effective April 1st, 2015. Brenda has been with Kenton City Schools for 34 years. Motion, please.
Grimm?
McCollum.
Any discussion? I'd just like to thank her for 34 years of service. Everybody that knew her really loved her, and we will miss her. Vote, please.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes. Passes 4-0. Item C, approve the following transfers for 2015-2016 school year. Tiffany Crum from 8th grade science to 7th grade math at Kenton Middle School, and Jennifer Stauffer from 6th grade to 2nd grade at Kenton Elementary School. Motion, please.
Householder. McCollum.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item D, approve the written resignation of Chad Thrush, Kenton High School Assistant Principal, effective July 31st, 2015, in order to take the position as Kenton High School Principal. Motion to accept.
Grimm?
Householder.
Discussion?
Let's just be clear, it's because we hired him as Kenton High School
Right.
principal. Okay,
Right.
I was glad it was written this way.
okay, I
wouldn't have liked to just take.
I
the
know, that's
resignation.
why we just to clarify.
Yeah, it's just cleaning up some things we need to do. Vote, please.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item E, approve the written retirement resignation of Edward Bear, Kenton Elementary School custodian, effective June 30th, 2015. Ed has been with Kenton City Schools for 30 years. He is requesting severance pay. Motion, please.
Grimm?
McCollum.
Discussion?
He's gonna be well missed by the kids.
He
Oh,
is. Mr. Ed.
You know it.
Done a great job for us. We really appreciate that. Vote, please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item F, approve Jason Jones, Kenton High School Assistant Principal, for a 2-year contract effective August 1st, 2015, for the 2015 through 2017 school years. 218 days at a rate of $67,800 and 10 extended days, total of $3,000, contingent upon proper certification, training, BCI, FBI check, et cetera. Motion, please.
Householder. McCollum.
Second. Discussion?
The reason that we have extended days will be because we will only have one principal starting June 1st. And so Chad requested that he had some time to work with Jason in the month of June. And so that's why you have the 10 extended days, because Jason's contract will not start until August 1st. So just to clarify, and Jason is UNC as well.
All right. Vote, please.
Mr. Grimm?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes. Passes 4-0. Jason, would you like to say anything? You have opportunity.
I just wanted to thank the board, Mrs. Pinzarski and Mr. Thrush, for this opportunity. I really feel blessed and fortunate to be taking on my administrative career in my hometown and the high school from which I graduated. You know, the staff, and the administrators in this district, they're really good at what they do. And, you know, I was just hoping that I could stay here and continue to work. You know, I've been here about 10, 11 years. and to begin my career as an administrator here. And again, like I said, I feel blessed that I'm here. I also want to thank Chad and Rick for allowing me to do my internship with them. I really did learn a lot how to fulfill this role as administrator. I know I have a busy summer coming up. I have a lot to learn, but I'm ready for it, and I'm excited. And I'm ready for this opportunity, and August can't come soon enough. So again, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, allowing me to do this.
Sounds great. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're looking forward to many good years. Thanks. I would be remiss, I guess, if I didn't mention Jason's moving up to assistant principal and Mr. Thrush moving up to principal. The reason we're doing that is because Rick Abbott, who is our current principal, is retiring. And I would just like to thank Rick for his years that he has spent with Kenton City Schools. He has been a positive aspect for education. He's done a lot of great things at our school. And I know the staff really thinks a lot of him, and I just think he's done a great job while he's here, and wish him luck in the future. So thanks to Rick. Okay, item G, approve the following extended contracts for 2014-2015. Chad Thrush, 10 days in the amount of $3,700. Angela Butterman, 10 days in the amount of $3,700. Julie Simmons, 10 days in the amount of $3,700. Mark Gaynor, 3 days in the amount of $900. Angela Murphy, 2 days in the amount of $600. Robin Bain, 10 days in the amount of $3,000. And Ryan Collins, 15 days in the amount of $5,000. Motion to accept.
Grimm.
McCollum.
Change it.
Any discussion?
The reason that we have the extended days is because we started school so late this year. They had to front load the administrative calendar in August. So my administrators worked the entire month of August almost just to get that school opened. I know Ryan had a significant amount of days just in August.
August is I hate August.
I know.
This past year.
Just to get the building up and running. And so they were working well before school ever started. Well, then what happened is we have all these wonderful calamity days that Mr. Watkins loves so much. And so they're out of days. So their last day for most of my principals is June 9th as well. And they have to close out their buildings and close out the school year. So they just need some extra days to get their buildings shut down for the year. So this won't be something that occurs in a normal school year, but with opening the building, that's what happened.
Okay. Any other discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item H, approve the following out-of-state trip for junior ROTC, March 7th, 2015 to Indianapolis, Indiana for drill team. Motion to accept.
McCollum.
Second.
Grimm. Good to Dave.
Discussion.
This was a trip that came up at the last minute because a meet was canceled. And I had notified the board that that's the reason it happened in between board meetings, was that a trip was canceled. We wanted the kids to be able to participate and have the replacement.
We'd already approved a trip for that time period, so
Correct.
I don't think it's an issue, even though it's backdated a little.
But that's why it happened.
They always represent us well.
Yes.
They do.
Just out of curiosity, you went how they did.
I do not. I'm sure they did well.
They always do. So, all right, vote please.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
That says 4-0. Item I, approve the third annual Kenton High School 7-on-7 boys soccer tournament for Saturday, June 20th, 2015. Motion?
Householder?
Second.
Grimm.
Discussion? Vote please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item J, approve the revised 2014-2015 school calendar and revised contingency plan as per attached Appendix B. Motion, please.
McCollum.
Householder?
Discussion?
Let me be clear, this is just our calamity day plan for this year. That just shows the state what days we made up and what days we're making up at the end of the year. This has nothing to do with all the calendar stuff that I talked about at the beginning of the meeting. So
We are not voting on the
no,
calendar.
we are
No.
not voting on any calendar. This is just about this year's calamity days. In fact, it's not even required, but since we're grandfathered, I'm making us follow the rules based on how we're grandfathered. So I want to make sure that our ducks are in rows.
Now,
It's a revision.
this is along that same topic. What's the advantage of hours over days, and why is the state going that way?
Honestly, it gives you more flexibility because there wouldn't be technically calamity. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility. A lot of school districts have had advantages to more teacher professional development, if you will. I think it gives you more flexibility in how your day is structured. So some districts have even gone to a kind of a different schedule in their day where they're able to put their teacher prep at the beginning of the day for maybe the entire district. So they've had some flexibility with those ways. What I think the state didn't anticipate was that a lot of districts now have 26 calamity days.
Right.
So I think that legislators have noticed this and that we're going to see some legislation that's going to come back and refine hours and how it works. So I think by hanging out on our contracted days, we're going to see we're in good shape because we're kind of waiting out to see how the hours work. But what I do like is I've seen a lot of school districts that say, you know what, we also don't want to shortchange our students. We believe we don't want to shorten our school year. So even if we have a lot of calamity, we think our students should be in school. So you'll see districts that are on hours that are actually making up days. So they believe that their being in school is so important and doing the days are so important. Now, they may not be making up 8 or 9 days, but they're still requiring their kids to make up a certain number of days, even though they have 26 calamity technically. But the only reason we're passing this is because I would just feel better about it because it's required.
Under the old law,
days.
yeah. Okay.
Just to be
All right,
safe.
thank you.
Some of the other board members that I work with down at High Point are on days right now, and they think it's pretty consistent. So
Okay.
I think it's something we really need to look at in the future.
I don't think we have a choice.
Well, I know, but, well, we do till contracts.
Right, exactly.
So, all right. Vote, please.
Mr. Brim,
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes, passes 4-0. Item K, approve a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel. Motion.
Householder.
McCollum?
Will there be any,
There'll be no further action taken after the executive session, and our next regular board meeting will be held April 20th, 2015 at 7 PM. Thank you, Dave. Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
yes?
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes,
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
7:57 time in. All right.